Discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the budget adjustments for August 7th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Books at school board meetings. Thematic topics. And we have the school meetings in your packet with business meetings and workshops, special topic meetings shown. Right now there are no workshops. But you talked about one, I'm sorry, Tricia.
No, you can finish what you're saying.
You had talked about one earlier, based on agenda item D, new business. Do we have an idea of when we would have information on that, I guess, to place it in the...
I think it's a work in progress. I'm sorry. I need like one of those lapel things. It's a work in progress. I have some information now. I think that we could generate some discussion at a workshop with what we have right now. It's subject to change, it's subject to modification, it's subject to approval by the US DOE. But some of it's going to move pretty fast, and some of it will be implemented in this school year that's about to unfold. So if you wanted to do that second meeting in September or the second meeting in October, those both work for us.
I'm a little confused about the term thematic topics, because in the time that I've been on the board, I think we had one thematic meeting where the Alps came and did a presentation. As much as I enjoy those presentations, I'm against that type of thematic topic. I'm all for the Alps program having a night, and I'm all for attending it as a school board member. But frankly, I think we have a lot of business to do. If we're talking that thematic topics are workshops, where we are working here and we're deliberating about upcoming regulations and so forth, then I support it. So I guess, you know, that's what I'm trying to understand. What we really mean by thematic.
Well, I can tell you they came about because the board had a desire to see what was going on in the schools, and the administration, I'll say, had a desire to show us what was going on in the school. Those special items that may be in line with, I'll say, good to great 21st century learning items that we as a board have supported, and almost like the fruits of the labor, so to speak. So that's how it came about.
But is the idea that it doesn't become a business meeting? I mean, because that's kind of what I saw with the Alps.
Well, the idea is that there is always business to attend to at meetings, whether it be I'll say items 1, 2, 3, and 4, which for those was the pledge, proof of posting, approval of minutes, opportunity for the public, and then we would get into thematic meeting, workshop, whatever you want to call it. And if there were other items to attend to, and I said we would hit that workshop item there, so people could present and then be on their way. And then if there are business items to attend to after that, we would attend. So I'm not saying that we didn't do business during those meetings, but it was, if items could be deferred or put off to the next formal business meeting, then we did it.
Yeah, so I'm not in favor of putting anything off. I think we have a number of issues that we have to deal with, particularly coming up this year with Manchester, the changes that Dr. Littlefield was talking about, Common Core. all of these types of things. And as much as I like to see what the kids are doing, I would be much more in favor of the school hosting that night and inviting us, and I would make every effort to attend. I just don't see us having to conduct a formal school board meeting and eat up that time, you know, for presentations. You know, that we're not going to have to act on, you know. So I'm in favor of the workshop, which is really a business meeting with more of a, we know we're going to block out a certain amount of time for a subject. I'm all for that.
Tricia, please.
Since this is a subject I did a great amount of research on, this is something that I found when I first came to the school board was probably the most helpful in what the Hooksett School District did, what was going on behind the scenes. Yes, there are thematic meetings that were very based strictly on education, like Common Core standards, and that's something we talk about all the time, and that has an impact every day. But there are things that go on in the Hooksett School District every day that not everybody knows about and not every board member knows about, and I think that a thematic or workshop meeting is a great opportunity for the public to be aware. If your child is not an ALP student, you might not know anything about it. If your child is not a special education student, you might not know anything about what goes on in special education every single day in our district, and what we're good at and what we might need help in. And by any of these programs presenting to the school board from our knowledge base as parents, as educators, as a town employee, there may be things that we can say, have you thought of this? And that could be a completely out of the box thing that changes. When we sit at a school board meeting and we say, no devices, no games. Well, I'm sorry, I'm opposed to that, because there are certain circumstances where rewarding a child with 5 minutes of games gets 25 minutes of learning, and it works. And you can personally say I'm opposed, and that's fine, but I see that a reward system that involves allowing a child to explore what they're good at helps. It can, and I think that we all need to know what's going on in the classroom. I'm very interested to learn more about the 21st century classroom and what that classroom looks at. I'm spending a whole day, the third week in August, watching what these teachers are doing. I think we as a school board need to know that, because if there's a child in that classroom, their parent could walk up to us and ask us, so what's this about a 21st century classroom, and what does that look like? And if we haven't heard about it, we're going to sit there and look like we don't know what's going on in the Hooksett schools. And I have a list of topics of things I know that go on, like I've heard of peer mediation, but I don't really know what that is. Like, I'd like to know more about it. I'd like to know how it helps kids, because not every kid walks in the building ready to learn, and everybody needs help. And I think we have great programs, and I think based on that we're streaming live or going to be live later, or that parents can learn this. There might be a kid that we're not hitting, that no teacher realizes could use a peer mediator, or another kid to go, come on Johnny, let's walk to the bus, and that helps the kid. If the parent doesn't know the program's there because they're living in this day and age and they're just trying to survive, maybe sitting here some night when they can't sleep, they can realize that there's a program out there that could help Johnny get from his classroom to the bus and not be traumatic. I just think that it's a very good way for us to know what's going on in the schools.
Well, I think I'm in the middle of the two last speakers, but I don't have a problem with having those presentations, but I think if we are going to have them, we need to limit them and not go on for an hour or 2 hours. Maybe informally tell them to present for 15 minutes or something. You know, something so that, not that we're going to hold them right to maybe 15 minutes, but to tell them that so that they don't set up a presentation that will last an hour and a half, and then we still have all this other business to do. You know, so I would be in favor of it if we limited the time for the presentations.
Yeah, and just to clarify, if I could, you know, these workshops, we do budget, which of course we're going to be doing very shortly. You know, the waiver, that's one. So there are, I won't say, we do a year's worth of presentations by any means. If there's an issue that comes up, we'll fill in a gap. We don't, have to fill these tonight. We leave a lot of them open for something coming up. So there is a mix, is I guess the point I'm trying to make, between a business type workshop and then a presentation.
I think all the things that Mrs. Cork has mentioned are great to have as presentations. I think they could be held as parent nights at the school. I just don't see why we need to be here in session. I think what we need to concentrate on is providing a good example for the school that we oversee. And right now, this board is a poor example of how to problem solve, how to work as a group, how to be polite with each other, things like that. That's what we need to work on, not trying to always just present things and so forth. I'd like to do the business of the board, and I'd like to attend functions from the school that highlight all the programs that we have. But when we're here, we have a stack of work that should be done for improvement.
I'd like to make a motion that we put the New Hampshire waiver to the NCLB on the October 16th meeting, where that does seem like something we really need to concentrate and get familiar with.
I'll second that.
Discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of approving adding the New Hampshire waiver to NCLB on the October 16th agenda, or workshop topic, I should say, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay.
I would like to explore having the New Hampshire School Board Association come down and give a presentation. And talking to Barrett Christina, he said that they will basically customize something for us based on what our needs are. I think that we should have a workshop on how the board should function, and so we can go over some ground rules. I think some of us that went to that seminar found it very helpful. Not everybody went, but I think right now we're not functioning well, and we should look into having them come down and maybe give us a little refresher.
I'd like to move to put that on the November 20th meeting, or thematic workshop.
Second.
What date?
November 20th.
I guess we'll have to come up with some description of what we want them to do.
And see if they can.
We need to, someone needs to speak with them, obviously, about what we want. And of course,
And see if they can make that date.
well, do we know what we want yet? So we need to be able to tell them what we want. And so if we're going to have that on the 20th, which I'm not opposed to, we need to move to get, I'll say, an idea of what we're looking for, and then present it to them, and hopefully they can meet, make it on the 20th. So.
I'm looking for the proper functioning of the board, the proper behavior of board members. That's would be my two big issues.
Well, it is, okay. All in favor of adding that to the November 20th, as a November 20th workshop topic, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I will say that we will need to determine who's going to talk to the School Board Association about that, and I do believe we need more than that to ask them, but we can talk about that at
I'd like to make a motion that our September 18th special topic is, how is the start of school going? Like,
Could you repeat that, please?
what?
Could you repeat that?
How the start of school is going. Like,
I couldn't hear.
what our enrollments are. Are there any situations or issues we need to be aware of? Like kind of how the principals do a report that says, you know, they tell us all about what's going on. Well, it's not gonna come until the beginning of October. And I'm just wondering if like there can be a,
Was that a motion? I'm sorry.
yeah, it wasn't.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we
I'll
have a
second.
second? I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's not the whole meeting, is it?
No, that's just the thematic part. Like, we'll do the before and the after.
Well, they would probably do that September 4th anyway.
Okay.
In their school will have opened, and the principals will be here on September 4th, the first meeting of the month. So I would have them, I just suggest to you that perhaps we do that on September 4th rather than September 18th.
I just thought September 4th might be kind of quick. They'll only be in their third day of school. And since lights are on very late at most schools, that first week of school, I thought giving the principals the opportunity to not be here that
Well,
night and then come on the 18th instead.
We can do that too, but they usually are not here the second meeting of the month.
But would it be possible to switch them from being here on September 4th to being here on September 18th?
Yes.
I was just trying to be considerate of the fact that school has started for 3 days and they've probably had exceptionally late nights because they're not in their offices the first few days of school. They're in their offices in the evening.
I think we should leave it as it is, because if they're going to be here for the first meeting of each month, we're going to hear the real quick report on the 4th, and then in October, we're going to hear kind of how things have settled down. I don't think it's fair to ask them to move their dates. I mean, we're asking them to sit here all night. For all we know, they have plans on the 14th, or, you know, I think we can, we get principal reports on those nights. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the workshop topic for September 18th as being, I'll say the state of the schools,
Correct.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Mike?
I'd like to make a motion to add a workshop special topic to the August 21st meeting, and have that be BYOD discussion.
Second.
I was going to add that to the agenda, or that's what I was going to ask, if we can add that discussion to the agenda, so we can talk about BYOD as a board, and then have the forums and the forum and the information night from there. Because we approved it, but we never really discussed it too much, so I'm not that familiar with the program itself. So if we can just have a short special topic and discuss that, I'd appreciate it.
So would you be looking for a presentation as well?
If we did, it could be a short one. I don't know. I just want to add a discussion onto that early as possible.
Whatever the pleasure of the board is. Just a reminder that that's the second meeting of the month and the administration will not be here. So, but I think you're looking for a board discussion, not an administrative discussion.
Right. That's what I was.
So you could do a presentation for us?
No, I think the intent is that we've done a number of presentations, and I think that the suggestion is the board needs to have some discussion. Like, we'll shut up, and the board can have its discussion. I think that's the intent.
Well, I think it's going to be important that we have someone to answer questions. If that's you, Dr. Littlefield, then I'm comfortable, but I have a number of questions about the pilot program that I've not had an opportunity to ask. So if we put that off, if we put off getting those answers, we run into the forum. So, you know, I would, if you're willing to answer those questions, then I think that date works.
I would not be willing to ask a question that I didn't know. Some of them I'd be able to answer, some of them I would not be able to answer. So my sense is that if we're going to cover the pilot, there were questions that each one of the principals would be able to answer that I would not. That Matt would need to be there, that Becky would need to be there, that Justine would, so I would want the administrative staff there. And they're willing to come that night, but it's...
I think, not to get into the discussion too much, but I think one of the big issues we've got to discuss is Underhill. And we certainly need, you know, Drew's input to that. It's, you know, I think that in talking to people and everything, that's really one of these tweaks that could happen, you know, and if we're going to do that, I think we got to get onto it, because we don't want to start gearing up for that if it's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, maybe perhaps first meeting of the month might be more efficient. I just wanted to have some kind of discussion between the board so the board can discuss this, because we did vote on it, but we never really did a discussion of some of the topics, and I just wanted to do that. And I thought it would be good to do that before the public forum and information nights, of course, but as soon as possible. But I don't really care when it is. I just want to add that to the agenda or some meeting coming up.
Okay. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor of approving that motion to have a BYOD workshop on August 21st? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Again, I don't want anyone to feel like we have to fill this out tonight. I mean, completely. We're good through November 20th, as I, based on my tally.
I'm going to go out here on a limb. One of the things that I wrote down on my rather long list of different topics that might behoove the school board to look at, one of them was called a team building exercise, because we are, as the Hooksett School Board, a team, but sometimes we might benefit from some team building exercises, or I'm not really sure what it looks like. I've been involved in many of them before. I don't know in this format how we could do them, but that might be something that we might want to look at.
As a workshop?
Yes. I'm not asking for anybody to make a decision tonight. I'm just asking them to think about that.
As a potential topic?
Yes.
But, yeah, and maybe you can include that in the November 20th. I mean, the School Board Association, New Hampshire School Board Association may have suggestions for that and for all things that help the board function at its best. So we might be able to add that question into them.
Okay. Anything else on that agenda item? Okay.